Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to take a moment and look around and see how many people are here who at least don't look like you.
True.
It's hard when we look at people to really see beyond what our eyes see into their hearts and souls, their spirits, their cultures, where they come from, what experiences they've had. And what's most important when we're talking about strengthening mental wellness across all our communities, that we start to not just look at each other, but start to talk with each other, to ask for each other's stories, to listen carefully, and when possible, invite them to our gatherings and our celebrations. The only way that we are going to come together as communities is if we do the personal, heartfelt outreach to people who are different from us. That's the only way that process of strengthening mental wellness in our communities is going to begin, strengthen, and survive. A pearl is a beautiful thing that is produced by an injury. It is a tear that is produced to the oyster. The treasure of our being is also produced by an injured life. If we had not been wounded, if we had not been injured, then we would not be the pearls, or better said, the pearls in the making that we are today. A few years ago, my youngest brother died at age 60 of a very unknown autoimmune illness. He was the last of the males in our family and affected the entire system of matriarchy, which is very strong in my culture and my life in significant ways. One of the things it did to me one more time in my life, having lived with extreme trauma starting at age 2 during the India-Pakistan partition, and then spending time later during the Vietnam War in Vietnam, I was absolutely torn apart and called my healthcare provider, Kaiser. At that time, I did not have an assigned psychiatrist. I was a little afraid that I was going to have to see somebody who I did not know, who might know nothing about my culture, who might not know anything about how my family deals with mental illness, what our mores are, what our practices are, how we might or might not support each other, how we might keep a person who's experiencing an episode sheltered and at home. So I went and met one of the most amazing psychiatrists, a white man, so we didn't have that in common, a Buddhist, we did have that in common. He's English, I'm 7% English, even though I don't look it. We had that in common. But what touched me most was the questions he asked about how I lived my life, and not what was going on, what was the great suffering, how was I reacting. So he asked me, he said, "What do you eat?" And I said, "Well, I think I eat well, but I tend to kind of call dominoes quite a bit." He asked me, "Do you exercise?" I said, "Right now, if I can get off the couch, definitely I'll walk to, the garden." He kept asking me questions about what my life was like at that moment, and not focusing just on how my heart and mind were broken. And in a very gentle way, he came around to asking me what he thought he could do for me. And I said, "I just want you to listen. If I can tell you my story, I am sure that you will provide me with the tools that I need right now, not just to manage myself, but also a family of women, most of whom are younger than me and living in great grief. He said to me, eat well, sleep well, exercise, surround yourself with friends and love. Tell your story openly, ask for help, and here are the prescriptions that you need. Which was the last thing that he said, not the first. Not, I think medication will really help you. Let's try this, and let me see you in a few weeks. I am grateful to him. I'm not seeing him anymore, but I'm grateful to him for not just having treated me like that, but also shown me how I can be with people in my community, across all cultures, all ethnicities, all ages. The diversity of this community is so deep across languages. If I can't speak the same language, I'm going to try and find a word or two or three from that language to make that small connection. I also want to welcome you on behalf of the Mental Health Commission. Many of the commissioners are here. If you would please stand up and get a round of applause, that would be great. We have done some excellent work this year. I also want to give a shout out to all who live with a significant mental illness for their courage, their resiliency, their efforts they make on a daily basis, maneuvering through care systems which are not always equitably resourced, which are not always fully trained to respond to the needs made more complex by where we come from, our income status, our sexual orientation, our race, ethnicity, our educational background, our age, our language barriers, our customs and mores, our different religious, faith, and belief systems, and increasingly now our housing status. It is amazing to me to see in our community the different ways in which people will relate to each other based on our housing status. I want all of us here who serve the populations that are in need in our community, in our diverse community, the one community, the community of homelessness, is a community that includes all of us. Brown people, black people, Native peoples, LGBTQ, youth, seniors, people whose health is deteriorating, people who feel that they have been left behind, who have lost trust in us as a community. I urge all of us, whenever you have the opportunity and you see someone who is in the street, please do not be afraid. Reach out, say hello. That makes a big difference in a person's life.
Yes.
As we continue to find ways to strengthen mental health in all our communities, let us say to ourselves and those who work in the mental wellness field, to peers, volunteers, family members, our faith leaders, teachers, our policymakers, our decision makers, that our mental wellness is only as strong as that of the people that we serve. Let us make that heart, mind, body, spirit connection. Mental wellness depends on recognizing this connection. When one part is not well, it affects the entire being. And when our beings are not well, it affects not just the communities we identify with, but it affects our entire community. This incredibly diverse, incredibly deep, knowledgeable, beautiful community full of music, songs, stories from all over the world. We together can lift all of us up. But we can't do that if we continue to do things the way that we have always done. We need to transform ourselves. We need to transform our organizations. We need to transform our community to ensure that access, inclusion, respect, and dignity are the words that we walk by and the things that we practice. If we look at the word I and we replace it with we, illness becomes wellness. And I urge all of you to first ensure that you are doing everything for your own wellness, then your families, then the people that you're in engagement with on a daily basis, and keep moving it outwards. I love this city. I'm having a wonderful time chairing the Mental Health Commission and hopefully deepening our relationships with the division, but also with every person that serves those in this community who are in need. Thank you so much.